Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Brewer's Minute. So this week we're going to do something a little bit different. Today I want to share with you 3 resources that I use on a regular basis to help with my deck building. And before we get to the resources, I got to explain a little bit about my theory of deck building, and I believe that the best thing you can do to get better at building decks is to know as much about decks and how decks are built as possible. So you really want to research and get this encyclopedic knowledge of Magic decks. And I'm not just talking about current decks, knowing, oh, Black, Green, Delirium, Blue, White, Flash, but I'm talking about decks in Magic's history. The more you know about decks, the more you see synergies, you see these broad archetypes, and realize what kind of things work together. And even though the cards aren't the same, things that worked 5 years ago and synergies that were powerful 5 years ago often can work now with different cards, but in the same broad archetype and in the same way. So what we're going to talk about today is some places you can find deck lists that you probably won't be able to find anyplace else. So for me, and this is probably coming across as bias, but MTG Goldfish is my home base. This is where I get most of my deck building and deck lists resources, because I really think it's the best site. If you want to see the current standard meta, see recent deck lists over the past 2 or 3 years, I think MTG Goldfish really is the best. I used it before I worked for the site, and I still use it as my home base now, so a lot of my research involves MTG Goldfish. But there are 3 other sites that give you access to things that you won't find on Goldfish. So I use these sites to supplement my research and my ability to learn about decks in deck building, to supplement MTG Goldfish in that way. So first off, I wanted to mention Hura, which is essentially the Star City Games of Japan, the biggest or one of the biggest card providers. But the interesting thing about Hura, and I guess it's similar to Star City Games, is that they actually run their own tournaments and post their own deck lists. So if you go to their deck search, I especially use them for Standard and Modern, but if you go to Standard, you'll see they post 2 things in their results, and they have results from Magic Online, which I pretty much ignore. I find those on MTG Goldfish, but if you scroll down, you'll see these Japanese tournament names. These are results from Japanese tournaments that you won't find on Goldfish, you won't find on any of the American sites. And this is really important because there's often a big difference in the metas between Japan and the United States or Europe. Different cards are seeing play, different archetypes are seeing play, and by searching through these deck lists, you can often find the next big thing that wins the next GP when it's in its infancy. Some of the best decks come out of Japan, and the Japanese community finds them before anyone else does. So for me, I use Hura to look for unique things, unique card choices, unique decks that I'm not going to find on any of the American sites, the typical sites where you find your deck lists. The second one I wanted to show you is MTG Top 8. So first off, MTG Top 8 has a lot of stuff that Goldfish has, but I think Goldfish is better at most of it. You see the GP results, Magic Online results. What I really like about MTG Top 8 is their search function and the ability to go way back in time, which you don't necessarily get on Goldfish. MTG Top 8 has deck lists going back to the mid-2000s, 2007, 2008. So you can put a search in here. Let's look at 2005 and see what comes up. So as you can see, we are looking at Grand Prix results, World results, Pro Tour results, all the way back from 2005. You're not going to find these on many other sites. Like, Enduring Ideal is a card that could see play in Modern, but you can get some ideas that you might not find. Ivory Mask, Form of the Dragon. These are cards that you might not think of when you go to build your Modern Enduring Ideal deck, but by looking back at these old lists, you can find some ideas and some things you won't find anyplace else. Last but not least, we have a weird one. We have Magic League, and Magic League is this weird, unofficial, independent tournament series that takes place online with a third-party program. But you can find really interesting stuff here if you go to the deck page. First off, they have all the normal stuff, and you occasionally find brand new lists that you don't see anyplace else just by looking through their recent results. You see there's Standard, here's Modern. One of the things I like about this is if you scroll down, you can find old formats, and one of the ones that I use the most is Extended. So Extended is kind of the forefather or foremother of Modern in some sense. So this is where you get some ideas of stuff that you could possibly use in Modern. There's obviously changes with the ban list and so forth. You're not going to be able to play Tree of Tales because it's banned, but you can look back, and this is a power conduit deck that actually did well in an extended tournament. So you can look at the synergies here. What are they doing with power conduit? It's pumping up engineered explosives. So you can get ideas. This is actually where I first came across the idea of building the free win red deck for Modern. Is there was an all-in red deck that used to be played in extended back in the day. Obviously, big changes. We don't have Chromox, we don't have some of the fast mana, Seething Song, but that got the wheels turning, and I thought, well, how can I port this deck over and make a modern legal version of it with the new cards we have available? But the idea is the same. Slam the Blood Moon, slam these really powerful threats early, Chalice of the Void. Is there a way we can make that work in the modern format? And the same thing holds true with looking at these old extended lists. In the Magic League results, you might not be able to just directly play the deck, but oh look, a black-green Death Cloud deck. What cards from this do I need to change to try this in Modern? Could this work in the format? What ideas are out there? So these are 3 of the sites that I use on a regular basis to do this research, and I want to share them with you because I don't know how well known they are. Of course, as I said before, MTG Goldfish is kind of the foundation that I build everything off of, but if I'm looking for Japanese decks, I'm going to HareRuraMTG.com, the English language site. If I'm looking for really old decks that no one else has, I'm looking at mtgtop8.com. And then, if I'm just looking for a combination of weird stuff, extended stuff, stuff that you probably don't find anyplace else, and goes back a long ways in time, I go to magicleague.com and browse through their old extended decks and so forth. So hopefully this will give you some idea of some different resources you can use. So like I said in the intro, I really do believe that learning as much as you can about decks, both from the present and the past, is the single best thing you can do to improve your own deck building, because as you look at those cards and synergies, those are things that are going to apply to the decks you're building today. The cards might be different, but the synergies and the archetypes, aggro, combo, control, those things remain the same across time. So you get to really improve your deck building by kind of going deeper than anyone else. When it comes down to it, you want to outwork everyone else, and one of the best ways to outwork everyone in your deck building is to get ideas from places no one else knows. And I think these 3 sites are great examples of below-the-radar resources that not everyone knows. So browse around them. I think that they are super beneficial. Hopefully they help you with your own deck building. Anyway, that's been our Brewers Minute for this week. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you soon.